I thought we was gonna get a good run up after hours pre-market, but it didn't happen. Let's see. It didn't happen. I thought we was gonna get it on Nvidia. Let me go over here and get things together. I thought we was gonna run up, but we stayed stagnated right around 173. But we still have, we still have 30 minutes to see what's gonna happen. Yeah, this is what I do. This is what I try to do every morning. I'm starting to do it a little bit more now. I'm starting to do it, and well, y'all don't see it because I don't go live at night when I'm doing the same thing like what I did last night. So I'm gonna start doing that. Well, I ain't gonna say every night. I'm gonna go live and show what I do at night to halfway prepare myself for in the morning. But hold up, let me move this over here. Hold up. I know like some of y'all be like, bro, you coming on here kind of early. Yeah, I'm starting to show what I do before, what y'all haven't seen all these months on what I do before I cut the live on. I'm starting to show that now. So I actually be up early. That's why I go to sleep early. And like what I showed last night, that's basically what I do every night, Monday through Friday, to get ready for the next day. And then I get up and I do a little, I guess you can call it like a pre-trip inspection, like I used to do when I was a truck driver. You got to do the pre-trip inspections. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing right now. So I appreciate y'all for joining me. You're getting the inside scoop pre-market on what the stock sniper basically does, a good idea of what I do before 8:30 a.m. Okay, we're looking at NVIDIA. This more, let me see. I'm going to put this resistance right here. And I'm going to go with my support down here. Okay. Then let me check out AMD. I ain't gonna mess with AMD, so I'm gonna leave that like it is. Let me go to the spot. It's overall S&P 500. I'm gonna mostly do this with the S&P 500 as well. That red indicates resistance, and the green indicate the support, in which it does change. So I'm gonna just leave it like that. And the new company that has made the cut is Navitas Semiconductors. Yeah, I've been checking this out before I get ready to pull the trigger on a long-term investment on that. But then we got to look at Google. Yes, Google. Shout out to YouTube. Google beat earnings yesterday, guys. Google beat earnings last night. Matter of fact, let me go over here. Let me pull out another tab. Shout out to Google. Google earnings. Let's see. Share this instead. Alphabet beats earnings expectation, raises spending forecast. Shout out to Google. Shout out to YouTube. They increased their capital forecast for 2025 to 85 billion, up 10 billion from February. The revenue grew 14%, higher than the 10.9% Wall Street expected. They beat expectations. Google Cloud revenue, YouTube advertising revenue. Shout out to look YouTube content creators. YouTube advertising revenue rose 9.8 billion versus 9.56 billion. It rose. They only expected 9.56 billion and got 9.8 billion in YouTube advertising revenue. Traffic acquisition costs 14.71 versus 14.18. Whoa. Yeah, Google knocked out the ballpark on earnings. So now we back on Google. Let me make sure. Yes. Google, man, Google beat earnings. Great job, Google. Great job, man. See, Google, man, YouTube, you got YouTube TV, you got Google, you got what else? Yeah, you got a lot of things out of Google Premium. If you're not a premium member, you must subscribe to Premium. No ads, and then you can listen to music ad-free. You know, you could basically use it like a radio. Yeah, I really love YouTube Premium. Okay, let me, what I'm trying to do now. I'm actually trying to look at Google. 186. Google almost at 200 right now. Google had great earnings report yesterday, which was great. Good news. Boom, boom. We got, let's see, trend line. Put this good trend line up as we look at Google. Boom. As long as we stay above this uptrend, we all good on Google. Okay. Uh-oh, I'm messing up over here, guys. Let me see what I got going on. Yeah, I'm messing up. All right. So what I'm going to do is go back. Okay. Let's go here. We are going next. We're going to the European Commission's briefing on the trade deal with the U.S. EU Commission briefing on the trade deal with the U.S. It's a lot of trading going on, bro. It's a lot of trading going on, guys. It's a lot going on.
President Trump visiting the Federal Reserve. A lot of those stories coming up here very shortly on Live Now from Fox. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Christy Matino. I'll be here with you for the next several hours or so. We're going to go away for a break.
Diversity targets or similar efforts. Time right now, 8:52 on the East Coast, 5:52 on the West Coast. We're going to step away for another quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
A list has not been adopted by the Commission. A list has been proposed by the Commission, voted on by our Member States by an overwhelming majority, and will be adopted by the Commission later today, entering into force in the official journal tomorrow. And I cannot speculate as to whether that list will need to be used or not. I can simply repeat that right now our focus is on finding a negotiated outcome with the US. These countermeasures will automatically click into force on the 7th of August should a negotiated outcome not happen before then. Of course, the option is always there to continue suspension, or to suspend them rather, if necessary. So right now we're focused on negotiations. I'm going to say it again. Right now the EU is focused on finding a negotiated outcome with the US.
Thank you.
Thank you. Razia Akoch, AFP News Agency. I don't know if I've missed it, but Shevkovich had a chat yesterday with Lutnick. It'd be great. I'd be grateful for any comment on how that chat went. I think it was Besant maybe that said that there's been good progress in negotiations with the EU. I'd like to know if the Commission would agree with that description. And for some of us, this kind of feels like deja vu, where we were getting close to a deal, everyone was positive, especially in Brussels. Would you be able to characterise if it's different from before or not? Feeling more positive? Thanks.
Thank you for your questions, Razier. In relation to Commissioner Šefčovič's call yesterday, I don't have any precisions to offer at this point, other than to repeat that intensive technical level and political level contact is ongoing daily. And as regards a deal, an outcome, we believe such an outcome is within reach, and we are working might and main to deliver that for EU citizens, for EU companies, for EU consumers.
Thank you. Is it on this? Yes.
Hi, Luca Bertuzzi from MLEX. It's actually a mix of trade and tech issues. So up to you who's in the best position to reply. So yesterday the US published the AI Action Plan, which mentions the idea of creating AI technology stacks that bundle hardware, AI models, software and applications. It also mentions that the Department of Commerce will create full stack AI export packages.
That's why some people be asking me, is it too late to start investing in AI? It's not, guys. It's not. AI is just now basically starting. It's the best time. It's still in the beginning stages. Great time to start investing in AI. That's all they really. As I do my research and talk to different people, talk to different business owners, talking to different circles that I'm in, they're all positioning themselves right now with investments. They're positioning themselves right now with investments to prepare themselves on a financial standpoint to prosper with this surge of AI that's going to be coming with the next 5 years, guys. And a lot of people that I talk to are saying even faster than that.
And I read this together with a statement from Commerce Secretary to the US Senate last month that said that the revamped AI diffusion regime is likely to include a bundling of NVIDIA chips and US cloud providers. So do you have any reaction to the Commerce Secretary's statement about this potential bundle? If this measure is confirmed, how does the Commission intend to pursue its initiatives on creating AI gigafactories and more in general its tech sovereignty ambitions? And if the measure is confirmed, do you envisage any implications for the current trade talks? And does the Commission intend to appeal before the WTO? Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a long question. We will come back to it later if you don't mind, because I think this is something that another colleague will handle.
Just maybe, if I may very quickly,
yes?
just on the trade aspects, again, we must be very clear. These are separate things. There's the work we're doing in the digital sphere. There are ongoing trade negotiations with the US. They are separate. Don't bundle them together. Please and thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions on trade? Yes. We still are in Olaf's land. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, my question is to Olaf. Tetiana Vysotska, European Pravda, Ukraine. I would like to ask about the trade agreement with Ukraine. On 30 of June, the negotiations with Ukraine were finished, and this new trade agreement, which is building on the base of DCFTA, free trade agreement with Ukraine, was verified. But then 5 countries of the European Union said that they are not satisfied with this agreement and that it will be harmful for the internal markets. And actually they insist on amending this already negotiated with Ukraine agreement. What is the position of Commission now? So are you going to change something in favor of these 5 countries, which told about that on Agri-Fish Council last week? Or are you going to have it as it was negotiated with Ukraine, and when it will be voted. I know that the vote is planned for September, but maybe you will say something. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your questions. I'll answer them in reverse order. On timing, I can't give you any anything precise at the moment. The vote, that the adoption that will happen, will be done on the text that was agreed. It's not going to be reopened, that I'm aware. So that's the position. If I'm wrong about that, I'll come back to you, but that's how I understand it, certainly.
Thank you. Still for Olof on trade and tariffs.
Hi, Joachim Clementi from Estonian Public Broadcasting. Is this proposed package of countermeasures the kind of final say, or are you considering further options to respond should negotiations not be successful?
Thank you very much for your question. As I've made very clear from this podium many times, we're proceeding on twin tracks: negotiation and preparation for the event that the negotiations don't lead to the outcome we want. Right now, this is our top priority: negotiation, finding an outcome with the US that avoids the worst potential tariff pain. In parallel,
if you're just now joining me, this is a briefing on the trade deal that the EU has with America. If you don't know what the EU is the European Union. It's 27 European countries together. It's called the EU, European Union. And they have negotiated and struck a deal with US on UI, on AI, on tech, on cybersecurity. A whole lot of different deals are inside of this trade deal. So if you don't know what the EU is, it's 27 European countries all in one that is aligned with this deal that was struck with America. Appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm your host, the one and only Stock Sniper.
we continue to prepare for all possible scenarios in the event that we don't get an agreement with the US. We have now merged our two proposed lists into one nice, clear, coherent list. As I said, that has been voted on and approved by Member States. It will be adopted by the Commission today. It will be published in the Official Journal tomorrow, and you can see all the details of it at that stage. As regards other potential countermeasures, we have no intention to bring forward any additional potential countermeasures between now and the 1st of August, which is the negotiating deadline that the US has imposed. Nevertheless, we continue to prepare for all scenarios. All options remain on the table.
Thank you very much. You have a follow-up?
So, could you just, in generally, because I'm having a tough time explaining this to the average person, what is the anti-coercion instrument? Can you just give me a general explanation of, like, 20 seconds? What is it?
Thank you for your question. I invite you and all the citizens that you can't explain it to look at our beautiful, wonderful explainer online, which you can find by searching Anti-Coercion Instrument EU. Everything is explained, how it works, the stages, the process, etc. If you still have follow-on questions after that point, please contact me. But check that first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on that point, that Q&A is very helpful indeed. But I would like for the Commission to say in your words, because I can't put it in my words because I'm a journalist, that it's you that makes the legislation and all this stuff together with the other institutions and whatnot. The anti-coercion instrument, because there are other regulations that give similar powers, but just to make it clear, in your own words, this anti-coercion instrument is the Commission's most powerful trade weapon and gives it more power to retaliate than other rules on the rulebook. Thank you.
Thank you for this, Razier. I would describe the anti-coercion instrument as the Commission's most powerful deterrent. It was designed in order that the EU would have the maximum capacity when we see an outcome, or rather an act of economic coercion, that we would be able to credibly engage with the third party, the country normally, or the company that is engaged in that act of economic coercion, establish it, identify it, show that it exists with facts, and then at that point say to the responsible party, we have identified this act of coercion, please make it go away. If that doesn't happen, we can go to additional stages, but at each stage there is an off-ramp. In other words, deterrent, deterrent, deterrent.
Thank you. Any other questions on this for Olof? Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. Gunvels for Politico. Just wondering about the technical level contacts with the U.S. currently. Can you tell a bit more, like, maybe Shevchovich is not going, but perhaps other people from the Commission are traveling to D.C. for negotiations, or perhaps for a change, the U.S. is coming to us?
Thank you for your question, Kuhn. I repeat, intensive technical and political level contact is ongoing between the EU and US. They have these wonderful things called phones now that allow people to speak without actually being physically in the same place. So sometimes that is how the contact takes place. Sometimes it happens in person. At the moment, I don't have any in-person meetings to notify you of. That could change very quickly, and I'll be happy to tell you when it does.
Thank you very much. Any other questions on this for Olof? Any other questions for Olof in general? No, then I will maybe, Thomas will, sorry, excuse me, it's for Olof? Yes. Okay.
For Olof, and it is on the negotiation. Olof, we read since yesterday until this morning that the European Union is now waiting the answer of President Trump to the deal, if you accept that or not. Is that correct, please? Thank you.
Intensive political and technical level contact is ongoing between the EU and US. We want to get an agreement over the line as quickly as possible, and all our best people at political and technical level are working to that effect. That's all I can say for the moment.
Thank you. Any other questions for Olof? Raise your hand, also interact, so if it's for Olof, otherwise unraise your hand. Tommaso, you have your hand raised. This is for Olof.
Yeah, many thanks for the floor, Tommaso Galavotti again, Kronos. It's just a try. Do you have an idea of the timing for the decision by President Trump? I mean, tomorrow, during the weekend, on Monday, on Tuesday, or we're just waiting and watching Truth Social? Many thanks.
Many thanks for your question, Tommaso. Unfortunately, neither I nor my wonderful colleague Stefan are spokespeople for President Trump. We are spokespeople for the European Commission. Very proud to be so, and we're happy to present the position of the European Union anytime you are looking for it.
Hear, hear. Any other question for Olof? It's for yes.
Oui, Alain Guimol pour le journal français La Croix. Une petite précision à demander à Olof. Est-ce qu'il y a eu, dans les heures qui précèdent, un briefing aux ambassadeurs de la part du commissaire Šefčovič sur le contenu des négociations, s'il vous plaît? Merci.
Merci pour ta question. Je ne suis pas au courant si le commissaire lui-même a fait un briefing avec nos États membres.
Live outside the courthouse. For Director of Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. So again, this is set to get underway here very shortly. All of this coming after yesterday, President Trump unveiled a sweeping new plan for America's global dominance in artificial intelligence. He proposed to cut back environmental regulations to speed up the construction of AI supercomputers while promoting the sale of U.S.-made AI technologies at home and abroad. It's called the AI Action Plan. It embraces many of the ideas voiced by tech industry lobbyists and the Silicon Valley investors who backed President Trump's election campaign last year. So once this does get underway here, I will bring it to you. We'll also put them some boxes here so you can keep keep an eye on all of this once it does begin. In the meantime, since we do like to bring you these live events, I did want to take you out to this one as we're listening in here to the European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde. She's holding a news conference after a meeting of the bank's governing council discussing interest rates. It does appear she is taking media questions, so let's listen in here for a bit.
Members of the governing council. Now, as to future path, I think it's also widely shared by members of the governing council that we have to work on the basis of the data as they come in, that we have to decide meeting by meeting, and that to predetermine a path or preset the level or the material and significant development that would trigger one thing or the other is prospective and not part of the job that I do. Okay? I think my response is clear enough. Look, if trade tensions are resolved in short order, it will clear some of the uncertainty that we have weighing on the decision-making of consumers, of investors, of enterprises, and it will, of course, help us as well anticipate and model what the outcome of those tariffs will be. Could it lead to different movements? Future will tell.
What's up, Sheldon Gibson?
Our work will
Appreciate
tell.
you for joining me.
I would not exclude anything, for sure. Thank you.
Next question goes to Santi Pignol of Market News International, MNI. Santi, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Lagarde. My question is, we are now less than a year from the time when reserves are expected to slip from excess to ample. My question is, are you happy that banks are in a position to deal with the reduced reserve? And is the ECB happy that all the tools are in place for any early signs to stress in the interbank market? Thank you.
Yeah, I suppose you're talking about liquidity and the volume of liquidity. Yeah. Well, first of all, there is still plenty of liquidity in the system. The volume has reduced over the course of time, and it has reduced as a result of the reimbursement of TLTRO, which is now completed. It has reduced as a result of the discontinuation of reinvestment under the APP first and under the PEP second.
Hello, G, how you doing?
But despite that, and the fact that our balance sheet reduces on a monthly basis, regularly, predictably, the volume of liquidity in the system is still north of 2 trillion euros. So to talk about limited liquidity in the system, I think is not the appropriate characterization. There is still plenty of liquidity. Added to which, there is probably more liquidity in the system than we had anticipated, because there has been less demand for banknotes, and that has an impact. And there are other technical reasons caused by the fact that governments eventually moved their own reserves away from the central bank to put them to better use somewhere else, which has, as a result, increased the volume of liquidity out there. But liquidity abound. Thank you.
Next question goes to Carlo Boffa of Politico. Carlo, please.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for taking my questions. I've got two. First one, the EPP lawmaker Fernando Navarrete, the parliament point man for the digital euro, told Politico in an interview this week that the digital euro is a nuclear threat to force banks to act. Do you agree with the statement? And the second one is on the strategy review. Some analysts say that the bar for QE is now higher. Do you agree with this? And do you think it will have any influence on next year's assessment of the operational framework? Thank you.
Thank you for your very perspective question. The latter one I'm not going to address, actually, because you are jumping ahead. We have a review of the operational framework that will come in due course in 2026. So we'll take those matters as they come. The operational framework has been approved a few months ago. Let us just see how things work, draw conclusions from that, and then we shall see when we reassess in due course and in due time, that is in 2026. Now, on your first question, I have a pretty simple understanding of what the digital euro is. And for me, this is the digital expression of cash, right? I mean, we all have cash. Well, most of you, I suppose. I do. I like cash. Whether it takes the form of coins or banknotes, this is cash, and this is central bank money, if you will. It's sovereign money. But as technologies evolve over the course of time, and as the preference for payment evolves as a result, we need to respond to the demand of our European compatriots. And I see digital euro as the digital expression of cash. It's like digital cash. You can argue at the margin that in terms of, absolute privacy, we're not exactly on the same page. You could argue that the cost of cash is higher, blah, blah, blah. But in essence, that's what it is. So to argue that digital cash is a nuclear bomb, I think that's a little bit over the top. We're not holding nuclear bombs in our pockets, as far as I know. Thank you.
And the last question today goes to Mario Sarova.
Well, explain.
News agency BTA. Oh, I thought you had raised your hand. Sorry. Okay, well then it goes to Marta Pilar of Econostream, please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you for taking my question. Madame Lagarde, what do you think of market expectations calling for another cut, independent of when it is, especially given that the June projections already incorporate one more cut? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for your question. Markets do what they have to do, and we do what we have to do, right? So what I said earlier is still valid. We are in a good place. We are well positioned to deal with turbulent waters and to deal with the risks that will develop over the course of the next few months. And I'm here referring particularly, but not only, to the risk related to tariffs. But you can include geopolitical risks as well. You can include a vast uncertainty which might partly clear as a result of whatever tariff certainty we receive. So we are well positioned, we are in a good place. We have essentially closed that disinflationary cycle that we battled over the last months and which has led us to move from 400 basis points to 200 basis points with 8 cuts in a matter of 9 months. So we are in a good place now to hold and to watch how these risks develop over the course of the next few months. And we will have a new projection in September, and later on we reassess at each monetary policy meetings. We do projections and we publish them on a quarterly basis, but we do that on a regular basis, and we will continue to do that in September, in October, in December, and on and on. And it's on the basis of that work that the Governing Council will decide what is the appropriate monetary policy stance. So I cannot tell you much more than that, because it's been repeated twice in the monetary policy statement. I've tried to avoid repeating it too much, but our collective determination is, number one, keep inflation at 2% medium-term target. Number two, operate on a meeting-by-meeting basis. Number three, be data-dependent, and there will be plenty of that in the coming months. And not have any kind of predetermined rate path. Some people would like it. I understand that markets would like to have, more anticipation of that possible rate path. No, that is not possible under the current circumstances. But, as I said, we are well positioned to wait and see. And with that, I wish you all a nice wait-and-see holiday, and I hope that you take time to rest, enjoy family moments, friend moments, and have a good time in this uncertain world. Thank you so much.
And we will be back on 11th of September, if you want.
They are.
Okay, I have a couple of fairly.
Man, they're trying to get all the money, guys. They're trying to get all the money they can because they know it's going to take a lot of investment. It's going to take a lot of investing to get this AI and all these banking systems in place. It's going to take a whole lot of money. And guess what, guys? They are trying to get every dollar they can. They're all working together. They're trying to get all the dough to make more dough. In other words, they trying to get it where the poor stay poor and the rich get richer. The question is, what are you going to do to try to put yourself in some type of position where you can increase your financial status? What are you going to do? How are you going to learn from these things? Because success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? What plans am I going to put in place? Understanding what they're doing, guys. They are trying to come up with money right now by any means. They're trying to suck all the money out of us so they can make proper investments. That's what they're doing. Let's keep going. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. What is your interpretation of what's really going on? See, they will distract us with all these things. Meanwhile, on the back end, they are all working together to get as much money as they can to make these proper investments in this AI, in this new banking system. They're about to switch this whole banking system, bro, right in front of our eyes, if you're not paying attention.
Fairly straightforward yes or no questions. Was the 2020 election rigged and stolen?
Senator, thank you for your question.
It's pretty much a yes or no question.
Thank you for your question, Senator. I have not reviewed any of the cybersecurity of the 2020 election.
Don't have an opinion on whether.
Yes, I agree. Sheldon Gibson, I agree. They need an international tax law on all these billionaires. All these countries are working together, bro. They're all working together.
Whether the 2020 election was rigged and stolen?
Senator, my opinion on the election as an American private citizen is probably not really relevant, but the Electoral College did confirm President Joe Biden swore him into office.
Well, let me ask you, were there, quote, widespread election malfeasance and serious vulnerabilities with the voting machines, end quote, that changed the election outcome?
Yes, Senator, as you know, elections are state-run entities, and many different sectors of state across the 50 states of the United States pursue different methods to secure their own elections.
Mr. Planky, my time is limited, so I'm just going to say to you, there ought to be no hesitation in your answer to these questions. The agency that you've been nominated to lead, CISA, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, along with the entire national security and intelligence community, agreed that the election was secure. You're undermining the confidence of the nation in the election apparatus at a time when that credibility is as important as ever, when you're about to lead an agency that has responsibility for that security. State and elections officers across the country ran audits and examinations, and on a bipartisan basis, affirmed that President Trump lost the election. He won the next election. The answer to my questions is no. The 2020 election was not rigged and stolen. There were no widespread election malfeasance and serious vulnerabilities, even though President Trump said there were. Now, I know it is a contentious topic, but your role in that agency is to be above politics. If you can't tell us with conviction and conscience that those elections were secure, I have very serious doubts about your ability to lead this agency. Let me ask you, if President Trump comes to you and he demands that CISA falsely claim that the 2026 or 2028 elections were rigged, what will you do?
Good question.
Senator, as a cybersecurity professional, these are state-run elections. I have not reviewed the cybersecurity posture of all 50 states.
With all due
That's like
respect,
a doctor, Senator. That's like a doctor who's diagnosing somebody over the television because they saw him on the news.
No, it's like a doctor who has a patient come to him and is responsible for doing the diagnosis. It may be a second opinion, but it actually is the determinative opinion because you are the head of the federal agency that oversees the security of our election system for the entire nation. And you're telling me, in effect, you're just gonna dodge, you're gonna jump ship, you're gonna evade that responsibility. I think that answer is completely unsatisfactory.
Senator, I did not say that I would dodge or abate any of my responsibility. I would remind you, Senator, that CISA is a consent-based cybersecurity agency, and cybersecurity, CISA is postured to respond and support every state across the United States, and we will gladly and do our due diligence to support those states across the United States.
You seem not to understand the responsibility of CISA. People turn to this agency for unbiased, objective, science, evidence-based expert information. And you're in effect saying that if President Trump comes to you and he says, I want you to say this election was rigged, you're going to yield to him. Thank you.
If Trump come and say that that midterm is rigged, you better roll with him or you out of there. If anybody goes against Trump, you automatically get put on the hit list. That was a great question right there, guys.
You know, when we talk about elections and whether or not they're rigged or not, I don't think one party or another is particularly immune to this. There's still people who believe that the Daley machine and the mafia conspired in Cook County in 1960. There's some evidence of it. You know, it's a longtime American tradition, you know, for both parties to question the other party in elections. I will say that in 2016, when Donald Trump won the first time, you know, Hillary Clinton, to this day, says that he was an illegitimate president. Jimmy Carter said he was illegitimate. From the very beginning, they tried to delegitimize Trump. So I would say it's no different. And in fact, if we're going to criticize Donald Trump for questioning the 2020 election, we should be equally critical of Hillary Clinton for questioning the 2016 election. The quotes are legion. I mean, dozens and dozens of quotes, dozens and dozens of interviews. Hillary Clinton to this day is unrepentant in this, but it's worse than that. That's just sort of an opinion. What they ended up doing is using the apparatus of government to try to delegitimize Trump. They used the apparatus of government to spread something that was a falsehood, that the Russians got the election for Donald Trump. He wasn't deserving. The people didn't vote for him. The Russians did this. But it turns out that all of the intelligence reports saying the Russians, of course they try to meddle. They meddle every time in all of our elections. But it was judged to be insignificant and not consequential until it wasn't. Until all of a sudden someone at the top of the intelligence community decided, oh, well, yeah, we think Donald Trump's illegitimate. We're going to spread this throughout government. And there basically was a conspiracy using government and using the power of the intel agencies. So for people who complain, Donald Trump complained about the 2020 election, my goodness. The Obama administration planted misinformation throughout government purposely. They planted it in lots of different places. At one point, John Brennan is asked the question by the analyst that he has selected, this information, sir, this dossier, this Steele dossier is opposition research, and it is unchecked. It is unverified. And Brennan's flippant response was, yeah, but it sure sounds like it could be true. Sure rings true. This is the head of the CIA saying this. They got together and really cooked up something to delegitimize. So I really am not that interested in hearing, oh, Donald Trump says it, will you admit the election wasn't rigged? There's a great book on this. It's called Rigged by Molly Hemingway. And in it, she goes through in great detail the Democrats' disregard. You know, does anybody remember the Democrats voted against seating electors? You know, the whole January 6th stuff, they say, oh, this is unprecedented. Republicans aren't seating the electors. Now, look, I voted to seat the electors. I thought the argument wasn't a valid argument. But the thing is, Democrats, including one of the ones who worked Raskin to impeach the president, he voted not to seat the electors in 2016 because he thought the election was rigged. So for goodness sakes, let's put this to rest. Both parties have accused each other of malfeasance. Both parties have accused the elections of being rigged. And let's just try to move forward.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, nothing you've said absolves this witness of a responsibility to answer these basic questions about the core responsibility of the agency he's been nominated to lead.
The CISA has nothing to do with the elections. The CISA has nothing to do with the state-run elections. Senator Moody.
Well, we will agree to
Chairman.
disagree, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you to our nominees for being here today. I know this is not an easy process, and we appreciate you standing ready to answer our questions. And to your families who are here with you and supporting you not only today, but after you are confirmed in these incredibly important roles. Public service is not easy, and we understand that and are grateful to you for the service to our country. I'd like to recognize we did not do introductions for efficiency's sake. If we were doing them, I would have proudly introduced one of our nominees today, Pedro Allende. Pedro has served the great state of Florida in his capacity as the Secretary of the Florida Department of Management Services, which comprises 3 areas of service, business, technology, and workforce. He oversaw a $1 billion budget and workforce of nearly 1,000 employees. He previously served as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Infrastructure, Risk, and Resilience Policy with the Office of Strategy, Policy, and Plans at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And in this role, he led policy development to protect U.S. critical infrastructure against cyber, physical, and natural threats, while overseeing policy efforts to increase federal and state local preparedness, response, and recovery capabilities. He's also served as a member of our Florida Cybersecurity Council. I have no doubt, if confirmed, he will once again serve the United States of America with great honor, and we appreciate you stepping up. Mr. Allende, if you can quickly, for the position for which you are nominated to serve now, it will be responsible for integrating cutting-edge technology and reliable scientific research to support the department's mission of keeping America safe. Can you give this committee an example of how, in your role currently as Florida's Department, the Secretary of Florida's Department of Management Services, you've utilized new technology to better serve and protect the people of Florida?
Thank you, Senator Moody, for your kind words. I'm honored for the nomination by President Trump and for this committee's due diligence in the advice and consent role. and to my family, my wife behind me especially. In Florida, we have had the great opportunity to do interesting things, is how I describe it. We have had the opportunity to work not just within government, but also expand outward. The department currently has research agreements with the University of Florida, University of South Florida, FIU, and Idaho National Laboratory to fill in the gaps where state governments are not well equipped to provide solutions. Some of our innovative work has involved working on things such as assessments of locks and levy infrastructure and cybersecurity. Also, we have a project coming up that has been projected for next year with Idaho National Lab and Florida International University to assess battery technology and its security, which will include the issue that's been recently in the news about inverters on solar panels. So there's just a few of the examples. One example of just leveraging existing technology has been during Hurricane Ian in Southwest Florida. The governor and our team, as directed, ended up, in addition to the traditional effort of bringing mobile devices called Colts and Cows from the three telecom carriers to reestablish communications, we felt that there was a need to expand that, and we had the largest deployment of Starlink satellites 56 hours after landfall to restore connectivity to Floridians to begin the recovery process. Grocery stores, pharmacies to establish communications to manage their inventories and to bring that service to Floridians in need.
Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to continuing your great service to the United States of America. A lot of leaders coming out of the great free state of Florida, and we're proud of you, sir. I'd like to also turn my attention now to Ed O'Connell. Welcome. You are nominated to serve on the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. As a former judge myself for over a decade, I know what goes into serving in a trial court when you're dealing with criminal matters, civil matters, family law matters, probate matters. Very important to this country and to the jurisdiction you will be serving specifically is efficiency in court. The delay sometimes denies justice to the litigants that come before it. What is your approach to maintaining efficiency within a court as a judge?
Thank you, Senator. The Superior Court of the District of Columbia is extraordinarily overburdened. There aren't enough judges on that court to move the caseload as it needs to be moved. So I view my role as a new judge on that court as one of the most important things I would have to do is manage a caseload expeditiously without sacrificing thoroughness to any thoroughness with regard to any one individual case. I think the unique training that I've had is it enables me to succeed at that role, and that training was being an assistant United States attorney in the Superior Court system for almost 20 years. Part of my job as an AUSA was to efficiently manage an extraordinarily high caseload without sacrificing the individualized attention due to any particular case.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fox, you wrote in your opening statement that you will be, quote, independent, impartial, and fair, end of quote, which, as we discussed in my office, is a core responsibility of the job of independent counsel. And yet you accepted a senior advisor position in the office of the Director of National Intelligence from Director Gabbard after you knew that she had put your name forward for the role
of I had it on
Inspector
mute.
General.
Yes, Tim.
And you are also now acting chief of the Information Management Office at ODNI. So my question for you, sir, is how can we or the employees of the intelligence community trust that you will indeed be independent, impartial, and fair when you chose to work in the very office that you were nominated to oversee?
Thank you for the question, Senator, and thank you again for taking the time to meet with me. I appreciate our conversation. Being truthful
and being independent are my top priorities, as the Inspector General have confirmed. And I was chosen for the role of senior advisor and ultimately for the role of Inspector General, I believe, because of my reputation for doing so. And I only took this role as senior advisor, which in reality is just a title. My duties have been to perform as acting chief of the Information Management Office, which is overseeing the release of records to the public for FOIA requests, Privacy Act, and we have a number of other groups. And I'm dedicated to transparency and rebuilding public trust. One thing I'd like to add is, since day one, the entire leadership team has understood the importance of that independence, and for that purpose, I've been properly insulated from any personnel decisions or any significant organizational decisions, to the extent that if I'm in a meeting and one of these topics arises, I will literally leave the room, and they've respected that and supported that effort.
Well, you know, you shared with me the same information in my office, which I appreciated, but it still, I believe, raises serious questions about some judgment as to why you would take that position, given your background. As Senator Moreno highlighted with his questions, CISA 2015 is a critical law that provides liability protections to businesses that share threat information with the federal government and each other. These authorities play a key role in coordinating public-private responses to cyber incidents, including the recent Volt and Salt Typhoon attacks. Mr. Planke, I'm pleased with the answer that you gave to my colleague. It was very thorough. I think it was pretty clear you fully support the reauthorization of that legislation as to how critical it is, and I understand Secretary Noem also fully supports the reauthorization of that as well. We are heading towards the deadline here at the end of September, so we have to take action before that time. Mr. Chairman, I know you and I have spoken about this on numerous occasions, and I look forward to working with you in the weeks ahead as we look at this deadline and trying to get legislation passed to make sure that those authorities are continuing to be there. So thank you for your support. And if confirmed, I would hope to deliver a bill that allows you to continue to work with all of the partners necessary to provide cybersecurity in this country. Mr. Fox, I'm very concerned about Signalgate, both the sharing of classified information on commercial messaging app and the implication that those records have not been retained as they should have been. In our meeting on Tuesday, you reiterated that nothing classified was shared because the Defense Secretary, who is the original classification authority of the information, has confirmed that the messages were not classified. And yet, just yesterday, after you and I met, the Washington Post reported that the information Secretary Hegseth shared came from an email marked secret. You know exactly what that means. Secret is classified information that should not be shared with foreign allies. So my question for you, will it be your stance as IG, if confirmed, that the Secretary can simply retroactively say that operational battle plans involving men and women in uniform are not classified and thus try to avoid the consequences of sharing them in an unclassified manner?
Thank you for the question, Senator. With my IMO role, when we review information for classification, a part of that involves a line-by-line review. So if a document is marked secret no foreign, for example, it's likely that there are portions within that document that may be unclassified entirely. I can't speak to this because I'm not aware of the facts and circumstances. I'd also like to add that national defense information and DoD information would be originating from DoD, and thus DoD would be the appropriate entity to make any determination for that. That being said, to answer your question, as ICIG have confirmed, nobody is above the law, and I'm committed to conducting every single activity of the Inspector General's office in an impartial manner without fear or favor.
And we've been listening in live there to the Senate Homeland Security hearing on nominations there, as there is a lot going on in the nation's capital today, and we do want to get to all of it here on Live Now from Fox. And thank you so much for joining us. My name is Christy Matino. We'll head back to that shortly. However, we did just hear from Representative James Comer on Capitol Hill speaking on the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, subpoenaed for a deposition in the Federal Correctional Institution in Tallahassee, Florida, where she is currently serving a 20-year sentence. So moments ago on Capitol Hill, we actually did hear from Representative Comer on that. However, as I give you a live look there at the U.S. Capitol, we also Did hear Comer speaking on another story we're following.
Here we go, guys.
Senior former Biden administration official Ronald Klain
of course, I don't
is
think she's
appearing
gonna
before
say
House investigators
that
today.
Trump is on
Klain
their
served
list.
as former President Joe Biden's chief of staff in the first half of his term, from the beginning of his term in January 2021 until early February of 2023. He's expected to sit down with staff from the House Oversight Committee behind closed doors this morning for a voluntary transcribed interview. Once again, Chairman James Comer there, he is investigating whether Biden's top White House aides concealed signs of mental decline in the then president, and if that meant executive actions were signed via auto pen without his knowledge. So once again, hearing from Representative James Comer moments ago there on Capitol Hill, let's play out his remarks for you right now.
I think he'll be forthcoming. I mean, he's at the top of the organizational chart for the Biden administration. I think everyone in America is wondering whether or not Joe Biden was mentally fit to be president of the United States, especially during the last 6 months of his administration. Everyone's concerned by the excessive use of the auto pen. Americans want to know, was Joe Biden, in fact, aware of what the auto pen was being used to sign his name on, or was, in fact, some family members or high-level officials in the Biden administration just acting unilaterally as president of the United States and using the auto pen?
How quickly do you plan to issue the subpoena to the DOJ for that?
Well, we're moving very quickly on everything we're doing right now, and August recess is going to be an opportunity for us to move even quicker. We can, we have a very good staff here. August 11th is the date when we hope to depose Maxwell in that prison facility in Tallahassee. The others that happened yesterday, we're going to move quickly on that. All the names that were mentioned are names that have been mentioned in the past with respect to the Epstein saga. So I'm surprised that the Democrats went along with subpoenaing Bill and Hillary Clinton and others that have been involved in that. I think we all know that Maxwell was at the wedding of Chelsea Clinton. So certainly they had a relationship with Maxwell. I don't know what that relationship was. I never thought that we would be questioning the Clintons and others on with respect to the Epstein files, but the Democrats voted in a bipartisan manner yesterday to do that. So what I've told people all week, the Republicans on the House Oversight Committee have been very interested in this Epstein ordeal for weeks now. And I told Mike Johnson that our members wanted to pursue that. So it's not like there was any cover-up from the Republicans on the House Oversight Committee, because our guys really want to know. But today we're here to talk about Ron Klain and the auto pen scandal.
About Ron Klain, will you ask him specifically about the Hunter Biden claim that his dad was on Ambien? Obviously, Ron Klain was there helping Biden prep. Will you ask him specifically about the Ambien?
Of course. I mean, Ambien is a controlled substance. That is a mind-altering drug. You look at the two interviews that the Biden family members have given. You had Joe Biden incriminate himself last week in the New York Times. He said that, well, he didn't know who all those people were that were being pardoned. He delegated to his staff to determine who to pardon. That's not how the pardon process works. Okay, that alone could get, if you knew the specific pardons he was talking about, that alone would get those pardons kicked out in court. And then Hunter Biden gives his infamous interview, and he says that the reason his dad did poorly in the debate was because he was loaded up on Ambien. I mean, was that a one-time deal, or was he on Ambien every day? If so, then that's a problem. But he said he was on it at night, but that debate was during the day. That debate, I mean, it was, what is the definition of night for Joe Biden? I mean, when was the auto pen used? Was the auto pen used in the afternoon? I mean, night for Joe Biden is afternoon for you and I, apparently.
To Ms. Maxwell, to the DOJ. Yesterday,
we spoke yesterday afternoon during the subcommittee meeting, and I told him that, you know, the members were going to amend the motion by whatever Democrat it was that made the motion, I can't remember now, and that it appeared there was bipartisan support to proceed with this. So I told Speaker Johnson last week, if we were in session this week, that Republicans on the Oversight Committee were going to move to be more aggressive in trying to get transparency with the Epstein files. So we did that, and I think that's what the American people.
Magnus, come on, bro. We understand how you feel. Please stop spamming the chat like that, man. We get the point. Magnus, be respectful. I'm asking you to stop doing that, bro. We get your point. Okay? You ain't got to keep doing it over and over and over.
People want. We're not doing that for any political reasons. When we go home and listen to our constituents, they're very interested in the Epstein files, but they're very interested in the AutoPen scandal as well. So that's what I'm going to go in here. We're going to begin the deposition with Ron Klain, and hopefully we'll be able to find some answers. Thank you all.
All right, moments ago there on Capitol Hill, Representative James Comer, as he was just speaking there on a senior former Biden administration official, Ron Klain, as he's appearing before the House investigators today. He served as former President Joe Biden's chief of staff in the first half of his term. So we'll keep an eye on that there as well for you. In the meantime, I do want to stay on Capitol Hill here, as we were just listing in a short time ago here. We're going to continue here. This is the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee hearings to examine nominations. So let's listen in.
Of models matter, whether it's large language, small language models, open and closed. And so that gets very granular. I'm very happy to work with you and your team to discuss each of those options and how each one could be managed in a very granular way.
Are you concerned about the risk that AI poses?
Senator, thank you for your question. I am. In Florida, we have actually taken it upon ourselves at the department to build an AI use policy and to start addressing those very risks, both on the privacy aspects of what can be disclosed to a model and how to responsibly use a model.
So you must have some experience then in prioritizing what kind of risks you're looking at. My question, I mean, this is urgent. I mean, this is a national security and public safety matter, and it is an urgent one. We've got OpenAI saying they've now got an AI that is highly capable of producing biological harm. So this is on our doorstep. It's a national security issue. Do you feel urgency about it? And what's your plan to make sure that you're focused on the most serious threats?
Senator, I absolutely feel urgency behind it. The scope of what the Department of Management Services and what the Director of Science and Technology were very different, and I can't relate one to the other. If confirmed, I will.
So how are you qualified for the job?
Senator, my background as a lawyer has involved highly technical matters such as cybersecurity. I started the cybersecurity practice for my law firm. I have a master's in decision information science. I have a long history of working with very smart folks, such as scientists, engineers, data analysts, to bring those methodologies to bear on the problems that we have at the Department of Management Services. I am very happy and comfortable working with people much smarter than I and enabling them to do the job that they need to do.
So I'm over time. I will follow up with you, but perhaps I can make this observation. This isn't necessarily about how smart people are, although that helps. This is about whether technologists who are engaged in this kind of work understand the risks and are willing to put some guardrails up and willing to prioritize how we go after making sure that these risks do not impact our national security and public safety. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You know, I think the question of whether we follow the law is an important question. Obviously, we should always follow the law. I think what makes it a more difficult question is we all know that you're not supposed to steal, you're not supposed to commit fraud. But if the president orders you to fire 10% of your people, is he breaking the law? There have been accusations made by the minority party that the president's authorizing people to break the law. Well, so it's a question. Can the president hire and fire people? It's gone all the way to the Supreme Court now, and the Supreme Court is siding with them. So we have to be careful about accusing the president and saying, oh, the president's ordering his people to break the law, because actually the court so far has sided with him on that. And the court may not side with him on everything, but that's why we have courts, and it is complicated. So when Mr. Allende responds that he would ask the council, it's sort of like, you know, he's not the boss. He's probably a little bit removed from the president. He has to ask for counsel on it. And if you feel that the president resigning is sort of ultimately the answer on this, but it isn't, I would just argue, not as always as simple as we say, follow the law, when there's a dispute over the law. A lot of these things like separation of powers, we are probably going to have more separation of power issues decided under President Trump because he pushes the envelope than any president in our history. And you can argue that's good or bad, but the courts have so far sided with him on the hiring and firing that that's not illegal.
Note my respectful dissent from some of your characterizations, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Senator Ernst.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and congratulations to our nominees for being here today and for your willingness to serve, and we thank your families as well. Mr. Planky, I'm going to start with you. We have behind me a chart, and it's quite lovely here, but it is something symbolic, but it is important. The blue outer ring and the inner red ring represent the unity with DHS and the commitment to cut through government red tape. However, federal agencies have been tied up in knots with outdated technology and many bureaucratic hurdles. Currently, the federal government maintains over 10,000 unique forms and processes approximately 125 billion forms annually. That volume isn't just a paperwork problem. It's a symptom of deeply antiquated systems that are ranging anywhere from 8 to 50 years old. And unfortunately, modernization efforts so often become boondoggles. Take the Bureau of Land Management's attempt to modernize its oil and gas activity tracking, which ballooned to 3 times the projected cost. It was 4 years late, and it added 565,000 labor hours, resulting in $19 million of productivity losses. Outdated technology also leaves the federal government dangerously exposed. So, Mr. Planky, as CISA successfully assists state and local critical infrastructure to meet current cybersecurity protections, what will you do to ensure the federal government isn't falling behind while helping others catch up?
Thank you for that question, Senator. I was nervous you were going to ask me about the logo. We could change that if you
we might have to work on that.
Roger that.
After we fix these problems.
Yes, ma'am. So, Senator, one of the ways I like to attack the problem as somebody who has worked in private industry from startups to Fortune 10 companies, I think too often we love to focus on how we fix a problem, and basically when you're fixing something in the private sector business, you're stopping the bleeding, right? You stop the decremental decrease of what you're trying to process. The problem is you really actually need to grow or change the service, right? You need to make a shift in what you do and change the way that you approach the problem set to deliver something better, in this case for the taxpayer. And when you focus on fix, all you're doing is stopping the bleeding. And so what I'd like to focus on, and what I've done in my technical experience, is wholesale changes. So instead of investing more in bad processes and policies, or making small adjustment micro changes in a process that is outdated to begin with, we will invest in wholesale changes and moves forward to deliver better outcomes for the American taxpayer.
That's outstanding. I appreciate that. let's stop doubling down and spending additional money where we don't have to. It's just throwing money out the window. I'm going to move on to Mr. Fox. Your job ensures whistleblowers can trust the system they're reporting into. And as you know, last Friday, the Director of National Intelligence declassified documents exposing what she called a treasonous conspiracy carried out by some of the highest-ranking officials in our nation to weaponize the intelligence community against the incoming president of the United States, framing him as being the agent of a foreign government. And we know today that it was all a made-up lie. This carried real costs. The House of Representatives impeached the president in part over accusations built on fiction. Taxpayers were stuck with a $32 million bill for Mueller's witch hunt. Trust in our intelligence apparatus was undermined, and despite all of this, the American people saw through the lies and re-elected President Trump last November. So let me be clear, weaponizing government against political opponents is un-American. So, Mr. Fox, will you commit to turning over every rock, regardless of how uncomfortable or embarrassing the truth may be for the intelligence community?
Thank you for addressing this, Senator, and absolutely, that is what I've been asked to do.
And do you agree that the intelligence community should be impartial, apolitical, and never weaponized against U.S. citizens or the leaders they choose?
Absolutely, Senator.
Thank you very much for your straightforward answers. Thank you all very much.
All right, again, we're listening in there on Capitol Hill to the Senate Homeland Security hearing on nominations. We'll continue that on the other side of all of this. And if you are just tuning in, we do know that yesterday President Trump unveiled a sweeping new plan for America's global dominance in artificial.
What's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all for joining me, man. If you have not hit the like button, hit the like button. Go vote. Did Obama rig election? What you think? Go vote, go vote, go vote. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Consider subscribing to the channel. I appreciate y'all for joining me. I appreciate you for rocking with me. We are watching the Homeland Security hearing. They need to ask better questions so we'll know, get a good idea on what's going on. So how y'all doing, chat? How y'all doing out there? How y'all doing? We got 88 votes. 53% say no. 47% say yes. I'm trying to get up to 100 votes. Go vote, go vote. What's your opinion? What do you think? I'm trying to get to 100 on the votes. We're at 88 right now. Pretty good. All right, Tim. I think people who vote are not part of the solution. They apply their problem. He was president. You never blame anybody. I feel sorry for himself. Like Francisco Hidrago, appreciate you for joining me. Adrian, that's crazy how many of you don't know how exactly he rigged it. It's already out there. Willfully ignorant. That don't mean that they're ignorant, Adrian. People got their own opinions, bro. Just because you got a different opinion, that doesn't mean that somebody else that has a different opinion is less than you. I mean, everybody got their own opinion. All right, we back, guys.
We have an expectation that you're the eyes and the ears of this United States Congress. To the intelligence community, you also work for the White House and you work for the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Ultimately, you work for the American people. Your job is to be able to oversee people that literally we hire them to go steal secrets from other places and be as clandestine as possible. That's a tough job to say, we need you to go in and make sure that this is being done correctly. Let me ask you a couple questions with that. Number one is, we cannot have our secrets stolen. If there are processes in place that lead to somebody that's a contractor or an individual that's hired that's taking our secrets, part of the responsibility of that's the Inspector General to be able to look over our own shoulder to be able to make sure that we have processes in place to prevent that. What are you going to do to make sure our secrets aren't being stolen? How are you going to engage in that way?
Thank you for that question, Senator, and I share your concern. It's very important across all 18 elements that we are simpatico in this effort to protect our secrets while also maintaining appropriate transparency with the public, and that is a balancing act in some ways. When it comes to holding individuals accountable for leaking information or selling information to a foreign power, there are a number of steps that we can take, hopefully to deter that activity in the first place. And that's something I'm prepared to look at as the IG. I can't commit to it now, given our many different priorities. I'd have to look at the work plan and understand the resources we have available and the other congressionally directed actions, but I'll stand ready to address that issue for the entire IC.
Okay, we look forward to that. Mr. Planke, thanks for stepping into this role as well on it. The Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act of 2015, it expires on September the 30th of this year. Secretary Noem has asked for its reauthorization. What do you see as the challenges that face the nation if it is not reauthorized?
Yes, Senator, thank you for the question. The CISA Act of 2015, created before CISA was created, is necessary in that it provides the sharing of information from business to business and business to government without exposing liability to those said parties. So a business that experiences a issue, a breach, detects an adversary, that type of information, they can share it without feeling pressure of liability across to other businesses so that they may protect themselves, and then also to the government, so the government may then distribute that information in a way that protects the greater good of America. And that's contained in the CISA 2015 bill.
Right, but if it expires, what happens?
If it expires, they lose the liability protection authority, Senator.
So we'll have less of that. Okay, yes, thank you.
Senator Holling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to the nominees. Thank you for being here. Mr. Planke, if I could just start with you. One of the most troubling things that we have seen in the last few years when it comes to behavior by the government is the effort by the federal government to coerce and otherwise pressure social media companies to engage in mass censorship of private American citizens across a range of topics: COVID-19, vaccines, elections, school board meetings. And unfortunately, the agency that you've been nominated to lead was right in the thick of it, CISA. Much to that agency's shame, I must say, and I think a direct violation of the First Amendment of the United States, because what the Supreme Court has said over and over is the federal government cannot use private entities to do what the First Amendment bars the federal government from doing. And as you probably know, there's been much litigation about this. The discovery in that litigation is damning for many agencies in the federal government, including CISA. So my question is, what are you going to do to ensure that CISA gets out of the speech regulation business, the surveillance business when it comes to private American citizens, and gets back into what it's supposed to do, which is actually to keep us safe, not to regulate our speech, not to follow us around online, but to be stopping cyber attacks and ensuring cybersecurity?
Senator, thank you for that question, which I believe to be an important one, and so does Secretary Noem and President Trump. It is not CISA's job, and nor is it in its authorities to censor or determine the truths, whether it be on social media or in any level of media. CISA will not do any of that work, will not be a part of any of that work if I am confirmed. I'd like to focus CISA on what it's mandated to do, and that's protect the federal civilian executive branch, as well as protect the critical infrastructure of the United States. Cybersecurity is a big enough problem. We have adversaries at our door, inside our house, and all over us every day. If confirmed, I need my people at CISA to be focused on eradicating those adversaries from the federal government, computer systems, as well as critical infrastructure of the United States.
Let me just read some of the euphemisms that your predecessor used to talk about CISA's mission and the censorship effort. Narrative control, perception management, information integrity. That was my favorite. You're telling me you're going to get CISA out of the business of policing narrative control. I mean, narrative control, good Lord. I mean, what could be more Orwellian than that? A federal government, the most powerful government in the world, engaged in narrative control? So your testimony here is that you will get CISA out of this business. You will comply with the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, and you will not engage in censorship of American citizens of any kind. Am I understanding you correctly?
Senator, to put it bluntly, yes, you are understanding me correctly.
Good. Let's talk about what that's going to look like in the election context. Obviously, CISA has important election security work, protecting our election infrastructure. That's important work. That's designated by statute. That, however, is different than monitoring political speech and monitoring political campaigns. How are you going to draw a line? Tell us how you're going to make the line clear between cybersecurity protections for our elections and political content moderation, which again is unfortunately what your agency has been involved in recent years.
Senator, thank you for that question. If confirmed.
Hello, Big TD. How you doing? Welcome to the chat.
It's election infrastructure that is the piece of that. And the president has already given guidance on this in his recent executive order. That guidance says that the Department of Homeland Security will focus on electronic election systems, so e.g. like a voting system, and that a American might use to vote, to ensure that it is assessed prior to an election that there is no adversarial actions or vulnerabilities in it. Now that is tasked in the president's executive order that he has already thought of, down to DHS. If Secretary Noem tasks CISA to do that, which I could imagine she likely will, my team, if confirmed, will focus on the assessments of that election infrastructure.
Good. Well, everything you said to me is encouraging. I'm glad to.
What's up, old guy? How you doing? Appreciate you for joining.
In this body, there are tasks that, frankly, CISA ought to be performing, including things related to like the security of rural hospitals, which is very important to me, very important to my state. 40% of the hospitals in my state are rural. We need the cybersecurity help, but frankly, we've been very reluctant to use CISA for any of this because CISA has been a surveillance and censorship machine for the last 4 years. This has got to stop. We've got to get this agency back on track, and I hope that you're the right person to do it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Slotkin.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I understand this was raised before, but Mr. Fox, you're asking to be the Inspector General, or you've been nominated, excuse me, to be Inspector General of the entire intelligence community, having relationships with Inspector Generals and providing that objective stand-back investigation into really important questions of integrity in the intelligence community. I'm a former CIA officer, so this is important to me. And I think if we expect you to do that behind closed doors, we have to know that you're going to be objective. So what is your assessment of whether classified information was shared in the Signalgate exchange? Was there classified information that you're aware of placed on an unclassified system and shared with a journalist?
Thank you for the question, Senator, and I agree with you that it's very important that we protect our sensitive information. To my knowledge, the Secretary of Defense, who is the original classifier authority, OCA, on the content from DOD, determined that it was unclassified. And in my capacity as the acting chief of information management at ODNI, our practice is to defer to other agencies for information originating out of those agencies.
Okay, so even though we now have a report that that information was directly taken from a document labeled secret no foreign, with no declassification process that I've heard of formally going on, you believe that just because the Secretary of Defense was the Secretary of Defense, he got to declassify it just by putting it on Signalgate?
I'm not familiar, Senator, with DOD's policies when it comes to declassifying or determining the classification of information, but
well, that's a strong statement to say that I'm not familiar with DOD's processes, but you're saying it's unclassified. I mean, first of all, I want you to be familiar. If you're going to be the Inspector General, you're going to have to weigh in on a million of these cases when people, rank and file officers, leak information. So I would just say it's hard to understand how the senior officer in charge of inspections and investigations on this issue can't speak clearly about how a potential leak of classified information is bad. And to be not familiar with the procedures is concerning. Let me ask another question related to the reporting. I believe you're right now the senior advisor to Tulsi Gabbard, is that correct?
my title is senior advisor, but I am performing in the capacity of acting chief of information management, Senator.
Got it, okay. So I guess what I'm having trouble understanding is, you know, in the past couple of days, there's been reports out that your current boss has put forward going after Barack Obama and a bunch of reporting from, I think, 9 years ago now, on the exact same day that President Trump's name appeared in the Wall Street Journal as being in the Epstein files, the exact same day. It is hard to imagine that in the 4 years of the Trump administration previously, in the 6 months leading up to now, when there's been plenty of time for your boss, for you all in your front office to refer these issues to the Department of Justice, you picked the exact same day that the president knew he was going to be named as being in the files of a known pedophile, right, and a known sexual offender. Can you help me understand why? Because my 10-year-old nephew understands that that was a distraction, that we were talking about something that was 10 years old on the exact day that the president didn't want to be talking about his name being in those files. So can you answer for that?
Senator, I really appreciate the opportunity to address this. The declassification process is lengthy and it's significant, and we have an excellent team of officers who've been working on this for weeks.
You just said that that Secretary Hegseth could declassify under his authority and put out on public information a piece of secret, no foreign information. So that took seconds, and I've seen presidents do this. I'm a CIA officer. Presidents can declassify very quickly. Are you saying that the reason why Tulsi Gabbard made that decision to announce yesterday or whatever it was 2 days ago was because of a lengthy declassification process? And you're talking to a CIA officer who's watched those things happen. So please tell me how in the 4 years of the Trump administration previously, it didn't get done, but yesterday it got done.
Senator, I appreciate that question and your service as a clandestine officer. These documents are reviewed very carefully and redacted as needed to protect sensitive sources and methods, and that's not an overnight process.
So
time has expired.
Thank you, sorry.
All right, we continue to listen in there to Washington, D.C.
I'm glad we got a little breakthrough there. That was a pretty good exchange, guys. I appreciate y'all for joining me, but I'm going to take the time out right now to really address like one of these comments that I got up in here. I appreciate your comment. I got to address this comment by Johnny Holt. Well, my opinion is now that I have 1 day off from work, it goes to show you how many people on YouTube ain't at work or just don't work. Most people work 9 to 5. Have a good day. Now, if you still here, I appreciate your comment. I appreciate your opinion. But you got to understand this, bro. It's 2025. First of all, some people work from 2 to 10. Some people work from 3 to 11. Some people work from 11 to 7. A lot of people work from home. It is 2025. A lot of people work in tech that work from home, right? So you got to think outside of the box. Just because you work 9 to 5 and got to go to a warehouse job or whatever the case may be, don't mean that the people that are doing what we doing right now don't work. It don't mean that, bro. Also, a lot of people, because of the development of the phone, listen to what I'm about to say. Because of the development of the phone, it allows us to get YouTube Premium. Listen what I'm about to tell you. It allows us to get YouTube Premium and get earphones, and we can listen to YouTube while we at work. How many of y'all in this chat? How many people in this chat work from home? How many people in this chat are at work right now and listening through Bluetooth, through your Bluetooth? How many people in this chat are retired? How many people in this chat are retired? See, what you don't realize, but I'm about to tell you right now, Johnny Holt, if you still in the chat, most of the people that watch me are over 60 years old, bro. How do you know that, Stock Sniper? Because YouTube gives me my analytics, and 60% that watch me, that watch this channel, is over 60 years old. A lot of senior citizens watch me, bro. So with that being said, I'm older. I'm retired. So you got to think outside of the box. You know, it's 2025, bro. It's all kind of ways to earn an income without going to the warehouse. It's just you got to think outside of the box, bro. But I appreciate your comment. I appreciate your opinion. So with that being said, we coming back and we listening to the rest of this.
Of the most capable cybersecurity people in the world. And if confirmed, like to get into that, provide them the direction, tell them what I would say is the hill we're going to take, charge up, and protect the American public from cybersecurity attacks on critical infrastructure, in-state and local attacks on critical infrastructure, in-state and local areas, mom and pop small businesses, but then also the federal civilian executive branch. And I'm going to empower those operators to operate and do the best they can. And if that means we have to reorganize in some form or fashion, that's what we'll do. I'll lead that charge. And if that means that we need a different level of funding than we currently have now, then I will approach the secretary, ask for that funding, ask for that support. I'm heartened by her understanding of the Department of Homeland Security and where she's applied her resources. As you can see, and under the president's leadership, they've seen that the United States Coast Guard needed resources, and they provided those. I have no doubt if I go to her and tell her we're driving in this direction to protect the American public, she'll work under the president's leadership to then work with Congress to get us the funds we need.
Yeah, I appreciate that. These are folks who are already working very hard. You know, the cyber threat is increasing like this, and then our protection is going like that. Reorganizing maybe something to look at, but I want to have your Coast Guard experience. In the Coast Guard, there are auxiliary Coast Guard men and women. There are reserves. We don't have that at CISA. We can't call up the cyber protection reserves to come.
What's up, Timothy? Appreciate you for joining me. Hope you're having a great day.
And have the willingness to step up and tell folks, no, this is really important. And as a committee, we need to be engaged to back you up, not just from a funding, but any other additional authorities that you need. And I hope you make that commitment to me now.
Yes, sir, you have that commitment, absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you all for your testimony. As we come to a close, I want to compliment the Trump administration and Secretary Noem for changing the policy on censorship. We had a CISA that was actually at one point in 2021 released a video that encouraged people to report their own family to Facebook if they challenged the government's narrative on COVID-19. Turns out many of the things the government said turned out not to be true. The things people have as far as opinions on medicine, vaccines, masks, a lot of times are simply opinions. In fact, almost always are opinions, and you can hear both sides of these things. But I compliment you for stopping this, but realize it's only temporary until the next administration. The way to make it permanent is when we reauthorize CISA. Everybody's been talking, they want CISA reauthorized. All right, we'll do it, but we're going to put in their anti-censorship language. And we need to make this part of the law. It already is the law. It's called the First Amendment. But we need to specifically prohibit CISA from getting involved in political speech. People on the other side immediately respond and they say, what about sex trafficking and this and that? And that's against the law. That's not constitutionally protected speech. So crimes, CISA will still be allowed to be involved with. Political speech, they won't. I think we can separate the two. But I think if we add language like that, we can get some permanence. I'm hoping we can come to a bipartisan agreement on this to add language in there, keeping CISA out of this. And it's like, to me, it simply distracts CISA from a job, we want, not to be, hacked in by foreign terrorists, et cetera, to protect our grid. All of those things are reasonable requests, but we're wasting time and money and simply angering. And really, it pits us all against each other, whether or not a cloth mask works or not. Is it 6 foot of separation or should have been 30 feet of separation? If you catch COVID once, can you catch it again? Will you die if you catch it again? These are opinions, and there are facts to support opinions, but CISA's got no business being involved in this. And really, they just shouldn't. There's something unseemly about it. The idea that agents from the Department of Homeland Security and or the FBI would be meeting with the media to tell them, well, we're just not so sure that interview where Rand Paul said cloth masks don't work, we're just not sure that, should be aired. I mean, that sounds like something you would see in a totalitarian regime. It really is terrible. But I compliment the Trump administration, Secretary Noem, for changing it. But I want everybody to know that we're going to reauthorize CISA, but we're going to put language in there, and I hope it can be bipartisan language that is going to protect speech and protect the First Amendment. Thank you all for coming. At this point, let's see where I'm going to. Last page. Somewhere I have my.
All right, listening in live there, that was Senator Rand Paul as we've been listening into this Senate Homeland Security hearing on nominations there. I also did want to share with you.
All right, guys, I think I'm going to end the live right there. I appreciate y'all for joining me. But I'm going to say this final thing on before I end. Like the guy Johnny Holt, I don't know, he might be older or whatever and don't really know, might be out of touch. I used to be out of touch too, until I started opening my mind to what's really going on with the money and the jobs that people do these days. Also, what you got to realize too is like it's a lot of people that invested in Bitcoin, that invested in a lot of these cryptocurrencies, like back in 2016, 2017, 2018. So there are a lot of Bitcoin billionaires. It's a lot of Bitcoin millionaires in this world that you got to think about, guys. It's a lot of people that are holding Bitcoin. There are a lot of kids in their 20s and 30s that are holding a lot of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is over 100,000 a coin right now. So we got to think about that. A lot of guys don't have to work because they are big time Bitcoin holders. So we got to think about that. And I'm going to end it right there, guys. So I love and I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. I had a good time. Great conversations. I appreciate y'all for joining me. Until the next one, I'm out.